All right, this video is about comparing numbers using their place value. And so it's important for us to remember that when we compare place values, we use symbols. So when we compare numbers, we use symbols. We use symbols that look like this: equals, and open away from a number means that there's something else that is greater than that number. And an opening toward a number means that there's something less than that number. Less than. And you may have heard it said that the alligator always eats the greater amount. How we read these depends on how the numbers are placed. So, really, it is dependent upon a couple different things. So, we use these symbols to compare numbers. The equal sign shows a value that is equal to another number. For instance, if I have two rods, I can say 10 is equal to 10. 10 is equal to 10. So that's how we would use the equal sign, is when we have two values that are exactly the same, we can say that they are equal. 10 is equal to 10. When we talked about going from larger numbers to smaller numbers, we also talked about that conversion of, like, 5/10ths is the same thing as 50/100ths. Okay. So that would be another way that we can compare numbers. We're looking for things that are the same, and we're using place value to do that. So, the most important thing is knowing which direction each of these goes. So let's talk about this. We're going to just work with very small numbers to start with. We're going to start with 22 and 20. 22 and 20. Which is greater, 22 or 20? Well, this should be pretty easy. We would know that 22 is greater than 20. The way that we would write this is 22 is greater than 20. Another way that you could write this is you could say, if it was on this side, 20 is less than 22. So 22 is greater than 20, or 20 is less than 22. Twenty-two is greater than 20, or 20 is less than 22. All right, I hope that helps and makes sense. That's the way we're going to start off. So we're going to look at a couple different things. We're going to look at how we can compare real world things in life. So let's start out with our sweet friend Jen has a cup full of water, and so does her friend Emilio. Jen has 6 ounces of water in her cup, and Emilio has 2 ounces of water in his cup. Who has more water, Jen or Emilio? Jen has more water because 6 is greater than 2. 6 is greater than 2. All right. Let's see if there's anything else that we really... Okay. So we're going to now talk a little bit about comparing decimals using place value. We're going to talk about using decimals, comparing decimals using place value. Now, you guys have heard me say it time and time again. You can use drawings, you can use words, you can use a number line, you can use a place value chart, whatever is going to work best for you. I like to use a place value chart. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and draw my place value chart. And I do this when I'm comparing numbers. I'm not going to make it real huge because we're just going to compare two numbers. I'm going to put my decimal point here, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. On the other side, we're doing ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, thousands. This is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Okay, so if we wanted to compare decimals with whole numbers, we're going to look at the whole number. Anything with a whole number is going to be larger than just a decimal. For instance, let's look at this one. 2 and 18 hundredths. 2 and 18 hundredths. And just 15 hundredths. Because we have a whole number here, it's going to automatically be larger than anything that just has a decimal. So 2 and 18 hundredths is going to be larger than 15 hundredths. And the reason is because 2 and 18 hundredths has a whole number, and 15 hundredths does not have a whole number. Remember that 15 hundredths literally is 15 out of 100, 15 parts of 100. So then we have to wonder, okay, what happens if our whole numbers are the same? What happens if our whole numbers are the same? Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. So what if we have a number like 5.6, 5 and 6 tenths, and let me scroll down here, 5 and 8 tenths, 5 and 6 tenths, and 5 and 8 tenths. Well, we look first at our ones, our whole numbers. These are the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to move to the right. We're going to look to the right of the decimal to see which number is greater. The next larger place value is this one right here, the tenths. 8 tenths is more than 6 tenths. 8 tenths is more than 6 tenths. Therefore, 5 and 6 tenths is less than 5 and 8 tenths. 5 and 6 tenths is less than 5 and 8 tenths. All right, let me get more room on my page here. So what happens if our ones and our tenths match up? What value are we going to go to next? Well, we're going to continue to work to the right in our number to figure out which place value has the highest value. So we're going to go with the tenths, hundredths, thousandths, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. If our ones match up and our tenths match up, 5 decimal point 6 2 and 5 decimal point 6 9. We look first at our ones because that is our largest place value. If those are the same, then we move to the right and we look and we say, oh, 6/10, that's the same. Now we look here. 9 is greater than 2. 9 is greater than 2. Therefore, when we read this number, we can say 5 and 62 hundredths is less than 5 and 69 hundredths. 5 and 62 hundredths is less than 5 and 69 hundredths. Sometimes the numbers you were comparing may not have the same number of decimal places to the right of the decimal point. In this case, you're just going to put zeros as placeholders. So we're going to look at an example of that. And we'll work with a larger number this time. We'll go ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, tenths. Oops, sorry. I skipped a column there. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. All right. So let's look and say our number is 587 and 65 hundredths. And this one is going to be 587.6. Actually, we'll go 657. So when we look at these numbers, we can see our hundredths are the same, so we're going to check out the next place value. Our tens are the same. We're going to check out the next place value. Our ones are the same, so we check out the next place value. Our tenths are the same. Well, we get over here to the hundredths, and our top number has hundredths, but our bottom number does not. So what we're going to do is we're going to put placeholders because it doesn't change the value. Remember, 6/10 is the same as 60 hundredths, which is the same as 600 thousandths. So we're going to put a 0 to hold the place. And now we can compare because these two numbers are different. So we would say 587 and 657 thousandths is greater than 587 and 6/10. Remember that decimal point says and we can put a 0 as a placeholder and it doesn't change the value. It does not change the value. All right.